From two dirty painters to multiple seven-figure business owners, I'm Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
And I'll be giving you guys the insider secrets to take your trades business to the next level.
From crazy stories to proven strategies, get ready to supercharge your business with us.
Welcome to the Dirty Painters Podcast.
Today's episode, we'll be going over the top reasons why most painters are actually broke. Not only will we be revealing these reasons, but we will be giving you tips to avoid falling into these traps as a painter. Let's get right into it. Today's topic.
All right.
How did you come up with that?
So, we've been, the last few months, we started club books. We've been doing more one-on-one consulting with painting businesses. And then there's some things that, the more I start looking to the books of these guys, the more I work with Shadi, and we're looking at their financials, there's some big red flags that most painters are actually doing. And it's just blowing my mind. I don't know if we were doing in the beginning or if we are more aware of how we spend our money in the beginning. But I was like, wow, it's just crazy how bad some of these painting business owners out there, they are managing their money. So we looked close to 100 painting businesses, and then we found 11 of the most common ways that painters are overspending or misspending in their businesses. So we're gonna go through over 11 reasons and make sure you guys don't do them. Whoever watches the episode, stop doing that because you're bleeding money, literally. We were traveling recently. We did some business turnarounds with some of our consulting clients, and then it was just nuts to see how some of those businesses are operating. So we want to put it out there in the audience to make sure you guys becoming better on those.
So we can prevent you from going broke.
Yeah, because honestly, most painting businesses, business owners, they're broke. They're like just surviving. Every week, they're just making ends meet, or every month, and then they just pretty much even break even or they lose money.
Yeah, I'm surprised with some of them when you see them being so busy and you're like, oh yeah, he's doing really good for himself. And then you see the books and you're like, wait, what is going on here?
100%. And you see a lot of them, they're working all the time. They're working 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, no weekends off. So I'm like, how the fuck are you broke? How does that work? And then until you really look into their spending habits and until you really look into their books, then you realize like, okay, these guys, they don't have a lot of sense of how they're spending their money.
All right, so let's go. You want to go through the reasons?
Yeah, you can start with the first one.
The first one, multiple subscriptions that are only $10, $20, $30, $100 a month, etc., that provide no value. What was the most common one that you saw?
So the most common one that we saw people using is a lot of app store apps, like editing videos, just stuff that, and I saw people were like with Instagram apps, like how to track their followers, how to do a lot of those things. Most of them were Apple subscriptions, like apps that they'll probably use one time and then they forget about it. And the next thing you know, they're spending $100 to $150 a month on apps that they only use one time and they have no use into their business right now. And I know it's only $100 or $50 a month, but it adds up. That's like $500 to $1,000 a year that can go into your ad spend. It can go into marketing campaigns. It can go into buying a new tool that you probably need or maintaining your vehicle, whatever it might be. So reason number one we saw was people just spending money on subscriptions. And that's not only business owners. I'm sure like even normal people, they'll subscribe to something, they'll forget about it, they'll never use it. And the next thing you know, they get charged.
Yeah, it's the free trial period where you put your card and then after a week you completely forget about it and it gets charged and you're like, whatever, I'll cancel it next month. And that next month becomes 2-3 months.
Yeah.
It just adds up.
I'm notorious of that too.
Yeah,
I've had a Planet Fitness membership for the last 6 years and I just realized it's been charging me. I thought I canceled it. So it's been charging me every month $22. And I was like, oh, wow, the heck? I haven't even been in Planet Fitness. So that's first reason.
Second reason, drinking Starbucks every day. Get a Keurig or Folgers instant coffee. Packs the same punch for 25% of the cost.
So when we work with people in the consulting side, we try to convince them that they have to spend money in marketing every single week, every single month, nonstop. And then we also say the results are not going to be immediate. It's going to take some time for the marketplace to start identifying you, recognizing, and start seeing your stuff. Because on average, you need 6 touches before somebody even decides to reach out, follow you, send you a DM, call you, whatever. So you have to stay relevant. So a few of those people that we're doing the books now, that they're not spending any marketing dollars, not even like $500 a month or $300 a month, they spend way more a day on buying coffee for themselves, their crews, eating lunch every day out. But like, for example, one of our customers for the books, he was spending on average $40 to $50 a day at Starbucks when we're trying to convince him to put $300 ad spend a month on his ads. He was like, oh yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm like, dude, you can literally start drinking coffee at home, buy an espresso, buy something, and then there's your ad spend. It's simple as that. And then you don't have to buy coffee for your guys every day or energy drinks. Have them bring their own coffee. Or go Costco and buy the big 48 packs of Monsters. That's what we used to do when we were like on the field.
That was clutch back then. Yeah, in the beginning we would do that too.
We would drink 3 a day and then would have anger issues and jitters all day. Couldn't even cut a straight line from how bad our hands were shaking. So the best way is to not even drink them, but if you need them, just be more efficient. And I'm not saying like we spend money like on these things too, but my ad spend doesn't stop. I still do the things I need to do in our business. When it's not like, oh, this month we're gonna cut our marketing costs, but we're gonna drink Starbucks every day. That is not how it works, guys. So minimize those expenses in the beginning while you try and get your business up and running. And ad spend, even at $300 a month, $500 a month, it's still something. It's still gonna generate leads. It's still gonna bring awareness to your business and your business brand, which is very important, especially if you're a startup.
Overpaying on workers' comp or general insurance because their agent is a piece of shit. Get multiple quotes, compare apples to apples. Oh, so I love this one.
This one.
I love this one.
While you were reading it, I was hearing it in my head in Shadi's voice. Shadi is our business partner in CloudBooks. So he's the one who came up with most of these reasons. So he noticed that a lot of these companies, painting businesses, they were overpaying crazy amounts in workman's comp, general liability, because they go to one agent, or they put their information wrong, or they don't do the form filling right, and then those agencies, they charge them an arm and a leg. Like we saw people paying for like 2-3 employees a month, like $2,000-$3,000 in workman's comp, $1,000 general liability when you don't even do $300K a year in gross revenue. That's insane. So he got fired up. That's why he phrased it like that. He's like piece of shit agent. So he's right. And also, he's right because those agencies, they try to make more money the more higher premiums they sell. But it's your fault as a business owner that you didn't do your shopping around. Think of like our customers when they hire us, okay? They get minimum 3 quotes, right? Why aren't you not doing the same when you're shopping for insurance, software, whatever it might be, whatever services you're looking for your business? Do the same. Go get multiple quotes. Be like, hey, I got this quote from this insurance agency. Can you beat it or can you do better? I'm a small business. You have to learn how to negotiate those things because next thing you know, you're paying thousands of money that you should not be paying a month, and it adds up. Like we saw some crazy things. That's like for example, one guy had 3 employees. He was paying $2,000-$3,000 a month in workman's comp. I was like, what? Dude, you're getting screwed. Like, it's insane. It has to be based on your payroll, based on whatever. So make sure you find a good insurance agent that understands your business.
Reason number 4, overpaying on material. This might be a tough one to sell.
All right, so how do you overpay on material? What are some of the instances that we've came across in our own personal businesses?
Initially...
And material waste. I'm going to add that, material waste.
So the first example that comes to mind is the tapes. The tapes, we had a big issue in the beginning with tapes. So we weren't teaching our guys like, hey, this 3-4 inch gap, instead of like putting 5-6 pieces of tape, but like a tape and a piece of paper. And also the tape we were getting, which was the blue Scotch at the time, was way more expensive than the blue Frog tape. That's when we started negotiating with our sales rep and then other stores like, hey, we can get it for this much here. How much can you provide it to us for? What if we buy it in bulk? Can you cut down the price per roll? So those are ways, that's just one example that comes to mind that you can stop overpaying on materials.
And then next thing is being aware of how much material, like paint, you need for your job sites. Because especially if you're doing like big projects, like let's say you do a 5,000 square feet exterior. And we run into that issue a couple of weeks ago with one of our crew leaders. He overbought
20 gallons.
20 gallons of Loxone. But Loxone, we can We can reuse it. But if we're not tracking that, then we wouldn't know that they overbought 20 gallons. So that's why you have to be aware and tracking and doing job cost analysis on every job to see how much material you're using on each job. That way you can create a pattern recognition. So you can be like, okay, a 2,000 square feet home takes me X amount of gallons. That's how much, this is where I need to be. You know, you come up with your averages. And the next thing you know, when you're going above those averages, you're recognizing it right away because you're aware of your spending. Or another way, when you're looking at your monthly statements on your reports, you're like, okay, this month I did 20,000, I spent 5,000 in materials. Looks good. The next month you did 20,000 and you're spending 7,000 in materials. You gotta start being aware of like, oh,
what went wrong here?
What's going on? Why am I producing the same amount of work, but I'm spending more in materials? Or another thing, it's people, they use the spray tips.
Blown tips or not the right numbers or type, like blue, green.
Yeah, like when you're in exterior, and for example, you're spraying with a 517, you're gonna go through more material if you're spraying with a 514 or a 515. So those changes on like minuscule changes on the size of the tip or a blown out tip, they're gonna make a difference. You might end up using 5 more gallons, and then 5 gallons times 40 for duration, for example, it adds up. If you're spending $200 less on each job and you do 100 jobs a year, look how much money you're saving right now.
20 G's. You get a used truck for that.
Yeah, you can get
for your business.
Yeah, or most businesses, that's their ad spend for the year. So there's your savings right there. That's why you have to be aware. That's why you have to look at your monthly reports every month. I mean, we'll look at our reports at the end of every week and then we compare. But at least every month, you need to look at how much money you spend on materials, how many jobs you did, and then how much money you brought in. And then you got to identify where the waste is. A lot of people are like, oh, why do you worry so much with the white tape on the field versus using blue tape? Because I'm like, okay, the blue tape is more expensive than the white tape. And I use thousands and thousands of rolls a year for all our job sites. So even if I save 50 cents per roll, it makes a difference when you use thousands of them. So those things you have to be aware of.
Yeah, we started really getting obsessed with the material thing, especially after the tape, that we started negotiating like cents on paper, white tape, plastic, floor paper, everything. Because you mentioned if we save $100, $150 on this project and then this project, it all adds up.
Even $50.
Yeah.
If you're doing 100, 200 jobs a year.
If you're using 8 rolls of white tape to tape the seams or whatnot for your floor paper instead of 8 blue tapes, that's about $8 to $1. That's $8 you're saving. And if you keep adding it up with the rest of the stuff, the papers and the plastic, it all just compiles.
And a lot of small business owners are like, oh, every job pays for materials by itself. So I'm like, so what? Why are you going to waste money in materials because the job pays for the materials? So that money can go towards your gross profit. And then you make more money. It's even if you're like doing one job a month, you still should be aware of how you can save money on materials and how you can be more efficient. I'm not saying do one coat or water down the paint. I'm just saying don't waste paint and don't waste materials and be more aware of where your spending goes.
Yep. Something you said earlier, it just jumps on completely to the next reason. Being clumsy with equipment, leaving on work sites or losing, forgetting where everything is, not cleaning sprayers and tips, having to buy new ones all the time. We had this issue ongoing, especially like a few years back, where we would just buy a guard and a tip every other week.
Yeah.
Until we started implementing like, hey guys, after you're done spraying, get your guard, put it in lacquer thinner. Obviously after you wash it off completely, and then same with the tip. And then we've had tips that have been working for months without being blown or...
Yeah, like one tip should get you at least, 4 or 5 jobs, I'd say, minimum. And tips are pretty expensive. They go anywhere from $30 to $70. So if you have to buy a new one for every job.
Or even a guard if you're let the buildup.
How much is a guard?
Accumulate.
Like $30?
If you get a guard and a tip, total, it's usually $80 to $90 for the combo.
So if you're buying a new one for every job, that's $100 out the door. That you could, by just spending 10 minutes to clean it, you could save $100 per job. And you just, when the tip goes bad, then you replace it.
Or same thing with the pumps. If you don't just do its monthly maintenance.
Also, the filters in pumps, like on the gun filter, on the pump filters, they'll last you longer if you clean them.
I have a story that comes to mind with a certain person that had this filter blown out. Do you want to talk about it?
Go ahead, you can say it.
So we had this subcontractor at the time that was working for us that we were trying him out on a project, and it didn't really work out. And we just told him like, hey, yeah, our partnership, it's not going to work between us. And then a few days afterwards, after you finish the project and everything with this pump or whatever, he just sends you this text message of like, yeah, your trash products, they just ruined my gun filter and pump filter. I had to take everything apart and fix them, clean them,
replace them.
Yeah. And then you just send them this whole text. Hey, that's a disposable material that you yourself are supposed to be taking care of after each spray job.
I mean, the guy had never cleaned his gun filter
it was
in the pump's life. It was impossible. The filter got so caked from one job that he did for us. He only sprayed like 5 gallons of trim paint. So I'm like, dude, those are like, you're supposed to change those like at least once a week if you're using the pump. And I sent him like, I think like $40, $50 to go buy some new filters. I'm like, you're supposed to change those. I mean, they go bad, they get dirty, and then you throw them out and you put a new one. So that shows like how these guys, they're negligent, completely not aware of how their equipment should be
taken care of.
I'm like, dude, fucking change your filters.
We've had pumps that have been running for 4 years, 5 years without being serviced, just regular maintenance.
Just regular maintenance and just cleaning.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not like really any maintenance. You don't have to do an oil change to a GX19. You just have to keep it clean.
Yeah.
And then you have to maybe change the packaging here and there, change a part. But imagine if you like every time a pump stopped working and we're just buying a new one, we'd be wasting thousands and thousands of dollars. And those guys, they just like, the pump breaks and they just throw it out. And they have, I saw this too in a few shops that we went by. Oh my God, just pumps and pumps and pumps. Like, I'm like, why are these pumps all sitting? I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work.
Try to fix it.
I'm like, dude, you literally have like thousands of dollars worth of pumps sitting there, and you're saying they don't work, and then you go buy a new one, and then you're bleeding money. You have zero money, but you're still gonna spend 3 G's on your pump. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, if a pump is sitting, either throw it out or fix it. If it's beyond fixing, then just throw it out. It just drove me crazy, seeing like a fleet of pumps. I'm like, those pumps, they don't make you any money if they just sit there. They have to be worked.
It's not a showroom.
Yeah, like it's not a showroom. We're not selling pumps, we're painting. Another thing, we didn't add it here. It's like all these guys, they buy the fanciest gadgets, they buy the nicest pumps, they have the nicest equipment, and they don't have any guys to work. So I'm like, yo, dude, like those pumps, you can have the nicest things, but I'll still make more money than you because I still have the beat up pumps that the guys are using every day. Because the more beat up it is, it means the more paint is spraying, the more money it's making. You don't have to buy the nicest tech thing. You don't have to buy the newest pump that came out. Like our Graco 390s, like those pumps, they're not sophisticated. They're not anything special, but those things, they make millions of dollars for us. They spray millions of dollars worth of paint jobs. And then they're just normal, regular pumps. That's why I have this saying, I'm like, give me a Graco 390 and drop me in any market. I'll have a 7-figure business within 6 months. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to have the nicest pump that connects to your Bluetooth. And
so you can check the pressure.
Yeah, so you can check the pressure from your phone, and you kiss it and you cuddle it. I'm like, what the fuck do you need that kind of nice pump for? Just like get a pump and get to work. Get some jobs. Jesus.
Next reason, overpaying employees or contractors. You need to negotiate better or charge the customer more to keep your margins. I like the parenthesis because sometimes, you might not.
So the parenthesis, Shaddy put it there because he realized, so with CloudBooks, how it works, they go through the CPA, which is Shaddy, and then our team of CPAs, and then he looks at the numbers. And then he can't really tell if those people are underbidding or overbidding. And then after they go through the professional, because I'm not the one doing the bookkeeping and the accounting, I have no specialization, but I do the business coaching. So then I'm like, okay, Shaddy's saying that the margins are very low. Let's look and see why those margins are low. And then we go down to the job cost analysis, and a lot of people, they're underbidding. It's not that they're paying their employees or subcontractors a lot. It's because they're underbidding. A lot of them, they running a 20% margin, which is horrible. We preach on this podcast, minimum should be 50% margin, minimum. So you can operate and everybody be happy and you can take money at the end of the job. Because if you're running at 20%, there's no money left. You're probably gonna go under. And then you have to negotiate your terms with your employees, not by underpaying them, but making them make more money the more they produce. Because another issue that falls into this reason is the pay structures. A lot of painting companies out there, they have horrible pay structures, and then they bleed money because they might be having a crew of 3, let's say, that they're paying $25-$30 an hour each, taking too long on a job. So it's an efficiency. Or maybe he underbid that job. So that job that was supposed to be 4 days ends up taking 5 days. The job was underbid. So there goes a day worth of labor that's going to take off from the profit margins. So work to eliminate this reason of going broke, work on your profit margins and work on your estimation. Make sure you hit your targets. And even if you don't, take notes. Document. Why did I lose money on this job? Why didn't I not hit my 50% margin? Why am I 20%? Track your labor hours. Track the materials. Track everything and figure out, are you underpaying? Are you overpaying? Are you underbidding? Are you overbidding? Take notes. You have to document everything in this phase. And then the more you do, the better you'll become at pricing out jobs and estimating how long each job is going to take you labor-wise.
Packing lunch the night before. Lunch every day, especially these days with shrinkflation in restaurants, can get super expensive. The average lunch now is anywhere from $15 to $20 depending on where you live.
All right.
That is very true, especially the fuel you put in your body.
Shrinkflation, that's a geek term that Shadi uses.
A geek term. I like it.
So, I mean, it's true. I mean, you can't even go to McDonald's anymore and you can't get anything. You can't get a proper lunch for less than $10. And McDonald's, it's probably the cheapest option out there. So if you're spending, you have to go, like, let's say you go Subway. Let's say me and Karmelo are a crew of 2 and we go Subway, because that's where we used to go when we were first starting.
Oh, damn.
All right, so Karmelo needs 2 footlongs because he eats a lot. And I'll probably eat 1 or 2 too. So like there you go. How much were they back then? Like $10 each?
Back then it was like 7, 8.
Okay, like you'll get a Coke, whatever. So $20 each. That's $40 for a crew of 2. And, we're business partners then, like, let's say all our expenses are split. So $40 a day and we're working 6 days, that's like $300 a week. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of sandwiches.
That's a lot of sandwiches too. But it's a lot of we worked hard, guys. We were hungry, so we were like working, busting our ass. So, but anyways, and then our mom and dad were not in the country, so our mom would not prep us lunches every day, so we had to eat out. But anyways, that's $300 a week. As a starting business owner, you have to be aware of this. And then we're like, okay, dude, we're like not making a lot of money and we're eating lunch every day and we're buying coffee. Oh, so add coffee, add lunch. You're looking at $100 a day.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
It's crazy. You remember the story I always tell you when I used to work for like $8 an hour?
Oh, damn.
And then I would buy coffee, lunch, and then pretty much
dinner again.
Yeah, I would work all day just so I can eat out, and then I would have like $9 left
to your
profit at the end of the day. So I'm like, what the fuck? And looking back, I was 18 years old. I'm like, holy shit. When I was 18, I was just working for my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's it. I didn't have any money left. And then underpaying, especially in the beginning when you're not making a lot of money as a painter, then it's you have to use that money better. Just prep your own lunch. You can save a lot of money there, and then the more money you start making, then you can start splurging. As long as you take care of the other things. Like my biggest thing is ad spend. As long as you're spending money in marketing and money to improve your business, and you have left over, then you can splurge into the other things. But when you're not making a lot of money and you're not doing the things that you need to be doing and investing in your business, then those things you need to cut off.
Yeah, you need to do your due diligence and putting money back into it, because it's not just a one-way relationship where it will just keep bringing you work without you putting anything else in.
Because most of the businesses that we work with, they make less than $500,000 a year in gross revenue. And then those guys, they're not elite. I'm not talking to the guy that's bringing home profit $30,000 to $50,000 a month. Like, okay, do whatever you want. You don't need to even be watching this podcast if you're doing $30,000 to $50,000 a month in profit. But I'm talking to the guy that's every month breaking even, running his credit cards to the max, and not making any money, not having any money left over. You have to be aware of those expenses. So make your own lunch at home, or don't eat. Just fast. Just get some nicotine gum,
Caffeine from home.
That's the best breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just don't eat.
No need to buy brand new work trucks. Perfectly good used trucks are out there and way more affordable. A lot of financed new trucks that they're not really being put into work. I've seen that before.
And I see that too. Like the guys think they just need a nice, fancy truck to start a business and then play the part and have $1,000 to $1,500 a month car payment. It makes no sense. Like most of your income goes towards your truck payment. You don't need fancy vehicles in the beginning to start. You can get a piece of shit van, piece of shit truck, and then your business it's a work tool. Then when you start making money, then you can buy the brand new truck, use it as a write-off. But when you're broke, it makes no sense to have a $80,000, $90,000 truck. And I didn't have a nice truck until I was completely off the field. And he didn't have a nice truck until he was completely off the field. We drove transits. We still have our original van. We drove the van, transits. We weren't like
used trucks.
Yeah, used trucks. So we were not like, oh, we're gonna go buy a $100,000 truck and then use it for work. No, it's in the beginning when you're grinding and building the business, the used truck, the used transit is perfectly fine. You don't need to have a $1,000 to $1,500 a month car payment. Oh, craziest thing. This guy literally he brings home about $8,000 a month. And then he has a $700 payment for a brand new transit van. I'm like, dude, that makes no sense to me. Why didn't you just buy a used one for like 5 G's? You can buy a nice used van for 5 G's. Why do you need a $40,000 transit when you're broke?
Or even the Transit Connects at 10 grand.
Yeah, you can buy a transit. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
it's a great car.
You don't need a fucking $40,000, $50,000 brand new van when you're broke. It'll still do the same job as the used truck or the van. So yeah, until you're actually making money, then you can buy the nice things.
Credit card debt on high interest cards.
Every business that has signed up with Cloudbooks, and we're close to 100 right now, they have credit card debt, and then they roll it over to the next month. They do like minimum payments because we can actually see how much they're paying towards the credit card. And I've seen balances roll over up to like $20,000, $25,000 a month with high interest credit cards. And then at 19 to 24%, that's almost $1,000 a month that you get charged in interest. That's a lot of money. Just clear off your credit cards. You should, if you're using a credit card for your business, you should every month before the payment is due, you should clear it off. You should not be paying any interest. Otherwise, do not use a credit card because it makes no sense paying interest anywhere from $400 to $1,500 in interest a month because you're rolling over and you're making minimum payments. That's pretty much you can buy a house for that much. Depends on your market, or you can buy a nice truck, or you can buy a fucking AMG Mercedes, a $100,000 car.
Pay off your credit card so you can get an AMG.
Yeah, pay off your credit cards. It blows my mind how they're like, okay, I'm just gonna pay it off slowly, and then next thing you know, the interest piles up. And
even though if they have the funds, they do that, or
yeah, I've seen guys who like the most recent one I saw. He had $69,000 in his bank, and then he had a $24,000 credit card balance. So I'm like, okay, I called him up. I'm like, okay, I'm your business coach. Why the fuck are you not paying your credit card? You have money. He's like, yeah, I wanted my money to be there. I'm like, dude, literally, you've been paying $1,000 a month in interest because you're making minimum payments of $400 a month. I'm like, just clear it off. Just clear off all your debt. And then don't let it pile up. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm like, no fucking shit. I'm right.
That's crazy.
And then they complain because they don't have ad spend. They don't have. They can't afford running ads. They can't pay for somebody to build their website, do their SEO when they do things like that. So just be aware. Credit card debt. Credit cards are great to use if you're clearing them off at the end of the month.
Using them correctly.
Yeah, like for example, we use one credit card for all our Sherwin-Williams, and we spend anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 a month with Sherwin-Williams, and we clear off that card every month. As soon as I pay my credit card, as soon as I pay my Sherwin-Williams bill, then 2 days go by when the charge
transaction
process,
hits, yeah.
and then I clear it off, and then I get all the points. Yeah, that's great. But imagine if I was letting that balance roll over. Shit, the interest rates would be crazy. So yeah, clear off any debt that you have and make sure you pay your credit card debts on time so you don't get charged crazy interest rates.
Don't sign a lease at the start you can't afford, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month. If you can't park a work truck at your house or subdivision, rent parking space for $100 to $200 a month in an industrial park. Some communities don't let you park work trucks on your driveway because of aesthetics.
Oh yeah, like most HOAs. Yeah. So yeah, you don't need a shop right away. And like we said in previous episodes, we started our cabinet business out of our garage. Start making the money first. There is ways you can finish on a customer's garage and you let them know up front. You're like, hey, you're honest with them. You're like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have a shop yet, but I have a fine-tuned process that I can finish your cabinets on site. And there's a lot of successful painting businesses out there that they finish on site. Like, for example, our boy Anthony in Fort Myers, he doesn't have a shop and he still cranks out cabinets. Does a shop help? Yes, it does. Do you need it right away? No, you don't. First, start getting the cabinet jobs, start making the money, then invest in a shop to streamline your process and make it more efficient. Because if you're broke and you add more overhead to your business, like a shop, because it'll range anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 to get a decent sized shop to support 4 or 5 kitchens a week, it's a big expense. And you don't need it right away. Make sure you have some money saved up, and make sure you have enough jobs to keep the shop busy. Because if you get a shop and then there's no cabinet jobs in there, then what's the point?
You need to have the cabinet jobs paying for it.
Exactly. That's why when we got our first shop, we're like, okay, we need 1 cabinet job a week to make this feasible, to make this worth it. And then we're like, okay, now we have 2 jobs a week. Now we can invest to get the shop. And then once you get the shop, you have your minimum. Like, I need to be bringing in at least 2 cabinet jobs a week to make this worth it. And then you start building up on that. You don't just get the shop and then you just sit there. You're like, okay, how do I get work now? You figure out how to get work first, and then you get the shop.
Reason number 11. Don't keep up with their bookkeeping so they don't even know they're not making any money, and then it all falls apart. That is very true. And then you get the shock factor at the end when you're not doing your job cost analysis or where the money goes in or where it goes out.
All these businesses that we're signing up with, most of them, they don't have any bookkeeping. They don't have anything going on. They have no tracking. They just use their bank statements. Or this guy, I was on the phone with this guy, and I'm like, how do you keep track of money in and money out? And he goes, oh, by the checks I write. I'm like, what? How are you keeping track of the money out by the checks you write? Like, yeah, I'm like, how about, do you write checks for everything? Do you write checks when you go put gas in your car? Do you write checks when you buy lunch or when you pay your insurance? And then he was not responding. So I'm like, dude, you have to have at least baseline. You have to have like maybe QuickBooks. If you cannot afford, let's say, for example, CloudBooks for $4.99 to have somebody else do it, just keep track of, like, there's a lot of bookkeeping software there that in the beginning you can do it yourself. But you have to have some tracking to keep track of money in and money out. It's the most important thing. How do you know you're making money? How do you know how much you're spending? You just go through your bank statement every month.
Yeah, you just check out the number, the available balance.
Or you look at the checks that you're writing. That was, excuse my language, that was the dumbest answer I've ever gotten. Like, yeah, but the checks are right. So I'm like, how are you a business owner? Like, a lot of those people, they say they're business owner. Oh, my favorite is like, oh yeah, I'm CEO of my company. I'm like, dude,
it's a sole proprietorship.
I'm like, how are you the CEO of your company? Just you and the crackhead that works for you. Like, it's just, it's funny when they put like the titles on their LinkedIn.
CEO, founder.
Yeah, CEO. Owner. I'm like, dude, it's just fucking you. I don't get it. Like, I don't even call myself CEO. Like, Karmelo doesn't call himself CEO. Like, even our more successful partners in the other business, they don't call themselves CEOs. It's just like, dude, we're painters. Like, there's no CEOs and CFOs.
It's not a high corporate job.
Yeah, it's
just painting at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's paint. Like,
CEO. That's
so
hilarious.
It's hilarious, but then it's sad. It makes me want to cry sometimes of how some people, they keep track of their things, like no tracking at all. And if you can't afford fancy software, you can't afford work with CloudBooks, there you can get QuickBooks for $10 a month and do it yourself. Keep track, especially in the beginning. You don't have as much volume. You have more time in your hands, but you have less money to invest in delegating things. Still, you got to keep track of money in and money out. It's the most important thing. Like from like ages ago, people had journals that they kept their sales and they kept their expenses. It's common math, not even math, just like common sense. Those are like the few things that we've been seeing with working close to 100 people right now through CloudBooks. And then those are the most common trends of overspending, money mismanagement, and then people just being broke for those reasons. There's others too, but those were like the pattern that we saw through our client base that a lot of people
have been doing.
And
it's keeping them broke.
It's keeping them broke. And I've seen a lot of people like they've been in business for years, many years. And it's like, you haven't really made any progress in your business. You still live in a shithole house. You still drive a piece of shit truck, and then you've been in business for 10 years. I'm like, you're definitely doing something wrong. For example, that guy that, you know who I'm talking about, that he's been in the market here for what? 8 years, I think? No, longer. 10 years? And then the guy literally moves so much volume. He buys as much paint as we buy. It's insane to me. Like the guy is doing same volume in paint as us, but then you look at his crews, you look at his tools, look at his work vehicles, and it looks like a fucking clusterfuck. I'm like, dude. And then the guy that you met at the paint store that you were telling me about, you know who I'm talking about, right?
One of the most top painting companies in Tampa.
I'm like, okay, that guy definitely, and then we bid against him a few times. That guy literally goes 3 times less than us.
Oh yeah, that exterior. That's the first example that I got.
3 times less than us. I'm like, okay, we're very expensive, but at least be twice less than us or 1 time less than us. Just like, how are you making money? Like you're literally running at a 5% margin, 10% margin.
That goes back to in the first few episodes that we were saying, oh yeah, I'm booked months out. That's probably, I don't know, with his margin, probably like a 15, 20%.
That's insane.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe even lower, because some of those didn't even make those numbers with the same products.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy's using so much paint, but then he's broke. So it's definitely an issue with how he's bidding. And then he talked to some of his subs, because I've talked to a few of them, because there will be jobs that we'll be doing the cabinets because the guy sucks at cabinets. So the customer would hire us for the cabinets, and then he would be doing the exterior because the homeowner would be like, yeah, guys, I would love to use it for the exterior, but this guy was way cheaper than you. So, you know, I have to pick and choose where do I want the best quality and all that. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. No worries. And then there's been instances where we've been at job sites with those guys, and I'm nosy, so I'll just go talk to the subs, because if he's good, I'll offer him more money and be like, come work for me. That's it. Side note, it's the easiest way to recruit good crews. Figure out if they're good first, and then offer them more money. And they'll jump ship like this. It's boom. More money? Fuck yeah, I'll leave. Can you keep me busy? Of course. I'm going to make more money? Hell yeah. And then the next thing you know, next week, sometimes they don't even put a week notice, or they're just like, I'm out. So that's a good way to recruit crews too, if they're underpaid, because at the end of the day, we're all in this to make more money, especially sub crews. So offering more money, you get them. But yeah, going back to talking to them, like, yeah, man, I'm only getting like $800 for this exterior. I'm like, what? That's insane. I'm like, how much was the job? And they'll tell me what the job was. I mean, no shit, that fucking guy's underbidding us and the customers are going with him, because sometimes, like for example, exteriors are very competitive here. Customers, they don't really care about the quality that much. They just want it painted and whatever. And they'll go usually with the lowest or medium bids. And then we see how those numbers play out, like underbid subs, underbid jobs, and then very, very thin profit margin because they still use good materials. They still use duration, emerald, super paint. And then the margins that they have left after that, it's not even worth being in business. It's come work for us, I think, at the end of the day. Or go be a project manager somewhere, an estimator. Why would you just be in business to say this, you have a business and make less than you'd make working for somebody else? That's what it makes me wonder.
Yeah. They just say the revenue and the net profit is just way different.
Yeah, revenue is not money in your pocket. Revenue, then you have, like, go back to other episodes to see how we calculate profits and then how we do job cost analysis and knowing your numbers. That's a very good episode that you guys can go back to follow up and listen more on this subject as well. Because you have to run a profitable business. And then I'm sure a lot of you started a business because you want to make money. You want to be providing for your families. You want to be buying nice things. You want to have a nice house. If you just started a painting business to struggle and survive and live paycheck to paycheck pretty much, just go work for a corporate. That way you have, or go work for McDonald's.
Job security.
I saw a sign, McDonald's is paying up to $150,000 for managers. Instead of being a manager for your painting business that's bleeding money, just go be a manager for McDonald's. And you'll eat free too. You don't have to worry about spending money on lunch.
You don't have to spend money on lunch.
Yeah.
So you got that part covered.
So that's why you got to realize, are you a business owner or you just created yourself a job that's bleeding money just so you can say you're a CEO?
Yeah, a simple question you can ask yourself, would you rather make in revenue 2 million and net 1 million, or would you rather make 5 million and net 500 to a million?
Yeah, and it's very common with, we picked up a few commercial clients too. Their revenue is insane. But you look at the bottom line, and because they're running at such thin margins, they make like $200,000, $300,000. So I'm like, why would I leverage myself and take so much risk to bring in $7 to $8 million just so I can make 200, 300K profit? I'm like, the risk, the exposure that you put yourself out there to do these kind of projects for the reward and the profit margin that you're doing, it's not worth it.
Oh, and especially that you have to cash flow all those jobs, because the pay structure in most commercial scenes, they're 2 weeks, 30 days, net 60,
Most of them are like net 60.
180. We've seen net 180 too.
So why would I leverage myself and do these big projects just so I can make 10%, 20% margin on it? And then take all that risk and cash flow all these big jobs. It's not worth it. And it's the same with residential too. You see all these guys that they're doing crazy volume. They, like you said earlier, they're busy for 10 months and then their profit margins are horrible. Like, it makes no sense. The risk reward ratio is not there for us.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about all these reasons, which one do you think is the most alarming? The one that everybody should that's going to be their main focus, like to take care of, to address out of all these reasons?
So I think the most important one is reason number 11, having trackers and a bookkeeping system to know your money in, money out. Because once you make yourself aware of what's going on within your business financials, then you can start working on the other ones. But without having the tracking and knowing and the reports and staying on top of them and being organized, then you'll never be able to identify the other 10 reasons.
Got it.
So I think that's the most important. And that's number one thing that most painting business and contracting business, they don't do. They don't track. They have no bookkeeping software. They don't have a bookkeeper. Their tax, another thing, and we don't work with that. Disclaimer, we don't work with people that haven't filed their taxes the last 2 to 3 years. Guys, what the fuck? How do you go 2-3 years without filing your taxes? Because we get a lot of leads, and then the first thing you know, I'm like, hey, are your taxes
up to date?
Up to date. And like, I haven't filed tax for the last 3 years. I'm like,
if I never file, I don't have to pay.
I'm like, dude, how are you like living in the United States without filing taxes? And then because we're running an offer, we're like, okay, like we'll do like minimal initiation fee, and then we'll do this year's books, but your taxes have to be up to standard, because a lot of them are like, oh, can you file my tax for the last 3 years? I'm like, no, dude, we have to go back 3 years, look at all your books, all your bank statements. You have nothing. We have to go statement by statement. I'm like, that doesn't get covered by the $9.99 fee. That's like 2 weeks worth of work of a CPA working only on your books. I'm like, yeah, make sure before you reach out to us, your taxes are up to date. because it's a lot of legwork. And it's, again, another thing, it's very important to stay up to date with not only your financials, but your taxes as well, because then you'll have to spend way more money for a licensed professional, a CPA, to do all that groundwork to bring your business up to standards. And then you have penalties, you have fees for not filing your taxes. It's just a clusterfuck. That's why we don't even want to work with those people. Like, it's not worth it. We want people who, understand the importance of being organized and having a good tracking system in their business. I think that's the data that we have so far, working close to 100 people within their business, their books, doing their bookkeeping. And then we want to address those early so our audience listening to this, they can make themselves aware, like, hey, these are actually important things if I want my business to grow. If you want to be Joe Schmo in a truck, man, that's fine too. Go, don't pay your tax for 3 years. Don't pay tax at all. I have nothing to tell you. So that's about it. That will wrap up, I think, of this episode, unless you have something else to add.
No, I think this was very insightful, especially since we're preventing you from doing any of these reasons, hopefully. Yeah. Or if you're doing them currently, we're helping you avoid them and fix them.
And if you think you're in a good position that you need to start implementing those systems in your business, send us a message and we do a free 30-minute consultation with my business partner who's a licensed CPA. And then he'll look in your business situation, he'll look at where your business metrics are standing, and then you'll get a lot of value even from the free 30-minute phone consultation and guidance on where your business needs to go next. Even if you own 3 years of taxes, he'll still be able to give you some guidance like, hey, this is what we need to do, this is what I need to take care of so we can bring your business up to standard and you can support growth moving forward.
Send a message to either Olympian_Redion or CloudBooks or either us.
Yep. Any of us, we're able to help you guys.
All right. I think that will wrap everything up, no?
So yes, this will wrap up this episode of the Dirty Painters podcast.
Be sure to follow our business on Instagram at Olympian Painting, and also our personal pages, Olympian_Redion, Olympian_Karmelo, and also keep up with the episodes on the Dirty Painters podcast.
If you like this episode, be sure to share with a fellow painter or tradie. Until next time, this is Redion.
And I'm Karmelo.
Signing out from the Dirty Painters podcast.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.